Recognizing the stateless, a global forum in The Hague is addressing their plight, with the UN Refugee Agency promising to end their suffering within a decade. But is it that easy? And what's causing the problem? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. In Doha, I'm Adrian Finnegan. It's a problem that affects millions of people around the world and leaves a person in a permanent state of limbo. Statelessness, or not being recognised as a citizen of any country. Being stateless means being vulnerable to all kinds of exploitation, and it means being denied the rights and privileges most of us take for granted, the ability to work and travel or have access to healthcare and education. But now the UN's Refugee Agency has come up with an ambitious plan. It believes that statelessness could be ended by the year 2024, and it says that 4 million formerly stateless people have already been granted citizenship within the last 10 years. Well, statelessness is a global problem that affects more than 10 million people. Many, like the Rohingya of Myanmar, have long been denied citizenship because of discrimination. In Nepal, like other places around the world, statelessness is partly a result of a mother being prevented from passing nationality on to her children. In places like Kuwait, the stateless Bedouin were nomadic Bedouin tribes who failed to get citizenship when their country became independent. And in Estonia, Latvia and Russia, stateless people were those who fell through the cracks when the Soviet Union broke up. Statelessness can result from war too. The UN says that up to 50,000 undocumented Syrian children have been born in Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq and Egypt over the past 3 years. All right, lots to talk about, as always, on Inside Story. Let's bring in our guests for today. We're joined from Geneva by Volker, Turk, Director of International Protection at UNHCR. From London, with us is Mohammed Al-Anesi, founder of Kuwaiti Bedouins Movement, an organisation that highlights the rights of stateless Bedouin people in Kuwait. And joining us via Skype from The Hague, Laura van Vaas, Senior Researcher and Manager of the Stateless Programme at Tilburg Law School. Laura is also the author of the book Nationality Matters. Welcome to you all. Mohammed, I want to start with you and your personal story. You've said that being stateless was like being between the earth and the sky. What did you mean?
It's when you are here and not here. All of the stateless people. Now, there are people around the world, they have documents and they have their rights and they're still suffering. What about those who don't have documents and they can't do anything? They are not allowed for education, not allowed for health treatment, not allowed to have dignity even. So you don't have your decision by yourself. You can't do anything. You are waiting for the governments to do something if they are going to do something for you. So you are not on the ground, you can walk and do your decision, and you are not in the sky, you are not dying and your story is finished. You are still in punishment and suffering, and you don't know when is this going to be finished. That's why you are, looks like between the sky and the earth. You don't know when you are going to land. Okay. You are waiting for landing, and waiting is killing.
How did you become stateless, and how did being stateless affect your life? What did it prevent you from doing?
I became stateless because I'm Bedouin from the desert, and before we are tribes, we don't care about the modern life, the technology. They gave us, they came to us in the desert and asked us to take the nationality, but we refuse it because we are proud of our tribes and we can move in any country, in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, any of these countries. But when the Sykes-Picot Agreement come and divided these countries to countries, when we come inside Kuwait, then the life come quickly, and then they give us some confirmation that the Kuwaiti government will give us nationality by the time. Every 5 years they give thousands, but then they stopped this system since 1986 when the new now the Prince of now, Sabah Al-Ahmed, he lead a conference to stop that and withdraw all the human rights from the Kuwaiti Bedouins. And since that time, all of us suffering. And the most important thing for me is really the dignity. We are without dignity in this life. The people is suffering, die because of the disease, and there are many people that can't know the A from the B from the C because they are not educated. While we are in the 21st century now, and the people now speak about modern life, there are still people inside Kuwait suffering.
So Mohammed, what happened when you called the state to account, when you tried to get citizenship?
The government, they don't want to do solution. They put plan to withdraw the rights. They mean to make us as stateless, and the Prince of Kuwait say the problem will be solved by itself by the time. We are not going to solve it. So there are plans. The government is not suffering from things, need to find solution for it. They mean to do that. So we claim it, and we still claim it. And I went to Geneva, and in Geneva many committees give many recommendations against Kuwait, but it's still just recommendations in papers. There are nothing happened. The government do against what the committees ask them to do.
So you're now a British citizen. How did that come about? How did you get to London? And what difference has being a citizen of a country made to your life?
Definitely. When I came here in the UK and I went to one of the boroughs of London, Barnet, and they gave me the certificate as a citizen, the nationality, and they said to me, you are now citizen. You have all the rights, exactly like any British person who was born in this country. Look, this is feelings. I live my life tens of years, I didn't have my rights in Kuwait, and then I come to country, not like my color, not like my religion, not like my language, and in just 5 years, they give me the nationality and all my rights, and return the humanity to me, and make me human being, which is in my country, where I born, and all the people inside Kuwait, they withdraw their humanity from them. They are not a human being. Even the animals inside many countries, they have rights more than the people inside Kuwait. They have passport, they have health service, there are organizations look for the animals' rights. But while the people inside Kuwait, so I feel it when they give me the nationality here inside Kuwait, and inside the UK, and they say to me, you are citizen, and I have rights up to go to be prime minister here in the UK. While there in Kuwait, even the simple things, you can't compare, and you can't feel how I feel. And even any stateless, after a long time that they are without nationality, without any human rights, and then you back again to the life, back again to be human being.
Laura van Vaas in The Hague, you heard Mohammed's story there. Outline for us some of the other problems that statelessness people right around the world are facing.
Yes, well, I think he's already expressed it quite eloquently. There are two things that you really hear about when you speak to stateless people about their experiences. The first is the practicality of not having a nationality. Often means you don't have any form of identity document. It makes doing anything and everything very, very difficult, from opening a bank account to getting married, registering a child, finding employment, accessing a school, all of those types of things that we take for granted. But then the other thing that you hear increasingly is an undertone, this sense of people don't treat me like a human being, and I just want the chance to show what I have to give to the world and to participate. And I think that's come through very strongly in what Mohammed was saying as well.
The UN says that statelessness can be ended within the next decade. What needs to be done?
It depends a little bit on which country we're looking at. There are a number of simple things that can be done anywhere in the world. We know that discriminatory nationality laws, so for instance, where women can't pass nationality to their child, that is creating cases of statelessness. So that's one very clear thing that can be solved. There are 27 countries that currently don't allow women to pass nationality to their children. If we reform those laws, we make a very big step. But then we also need to make sure that existing situations of statelessness, that a solution is found, and that if there are new states, if there are new cases of state succession or political upheaval, that statelessness is prevented in those kind of contexts.
Let's bring in Volker Turk then, Director of International Protection at the UNHCR. Volker, you say that solutions are within reach. How realistic is your target of ending statelessness within the next 10 years?
Well, ending statelessness within the next 10 years is indeed a very ambitious goal. There's no doubt about this. But based on the experience that we have had over the last couple of years, I'm actually confident that with the right leadership, with the political will, And with the momentum that some of the achievements that we have been able to have over the last couple of years, that we will be able to make some sizable progress in ending statelessness over the next 10 years. Just to give you some examples. In the last 10 years, about 4 million formerly stateless people got nationality. We have had 40 accessions to the international statelessness instruments over the last 3 years. That is very significant because it shows that states are waking up to the call that statelessness needs to be ended. We have also seen much more engagement on the part of a number of countries, of civil society actors, of judges, of courts, to look into the issue of statelessness, so that the type of stories that we have just heard are actually a thing of the past, and that's really what we're trying to work towards.
Okay,
we want to make statelessness shouldn't exist in the 21st century.
You talk about political will. Are the governments responsible
Yes.
for perpetuating statelessness actually willing to do something about it? I mean, keeping people in this limbo is sometimes politically convenient, isn't it?
Well, at the same time, you have, for example, in Bangladesh in 2008, a High Court judgment which declared the Urdu-speaking population, the so-called Biharis, as stateless people, and ordered the state to grant national identity documents and nationality to about 300,000 people. We have also about 12 countries over the past decade who changed their nationality laws to allow women to confer nationality onto their children, which is again one way to reduce statelessness. So if you see there is if there is some ways and means to create a momentum within a country so that solutions can be found, I think we can actually achieve some of the resolution of some of these statelessness situations.
Okay, I want to talk about gender discrimination in particular with Laura in just a moment. But first, Mohammed, what are you doing right now to help people who face the same plight? And do you think that the UN is taking the right approach here?
No, really. I will take the end of what you said about the United Nations. Your guest speaking about political, what they are going to do to Kuwait. Kuwait used to pay money for all the organization around the world and use the money to make the people say about it. It's a political country, it's a democracy country, and they award the Prince of Kuwait just 2 days ago that he is the leader of humanity. While he is the same person, he is stopped the human rights inside Kuwait. So what's the message here the United Nations give it to the stateless people? They feel upset, in depression because of this step which is coming from the United Nations. They feel painful because of what the United Nations do to award and give a good word to the leader of Kuwait. This is a wrong message. I believe that the United Nations is the one who is responsible about the solution. We need to speak about mechanism for the United Nations. They are doing research, that's good. They are doing conferences, that's good. They are making recommendations inside the committees inside the United Nations, that's good. But we need to make mechanism to obligate these countries. Those who is going to stay in the countries need to be nationalized, to take the nationality of the country. And those who want to leave the countries and go around the world to arrange their trips, they are dying in the seas and in the mountains and by the gangs. And those people need to have protection. The United Nations need to take serious mechanism and laws. You know, the last law, the United Nations make it since 1954. 60 years ago, the United Nations make that law for the stateless people. This is a negative thing. They need to be serious to take action. And countries like Kuwait, they need to obligate the government because they need obligation. By themselves, they will not solve the problem.
Okay.
So what I'm doing, I do my best. I'm only activist. I went to 5 committees in the United Nations, and they give a very good recommendation. How can we make this recommendation on the land, on the ground? The government do against what the United Nations said. So what is the mechanism to give Kuwait detention because they didn't go do these recommendations?
Okay, Volker, do you want to respond to that?
Well, just to say that obviously there are a number of situations where we have been very successful. Just to give you another example, Côte d'Ivoire, where statelessness was one of the major problems behind some of the political conflicts that happened in the country over the last 10 years. Last year, the Ivory Coast, the government signed both statelessness conventions and changed the nationality law, taking away one of the seeds of the problem and resolving the situation of thousands of people in the country and potentially hundreds of thousands of people. So there are also the positive examples, and it's important to learn from these positive examples so that we can work on the various situations that still exist today and find solutions to them.
Laura van Waas in The Hague. Let's come back to this issue of gender discrimination. What role does it play in statelessness? What can be done to prevent it? And can you give us any examples of gender discrimination?
Absolutely. Well, I already mentioned that there are 27 countries in the world where a woman doesn't have an independent right to pass her nationality to her children. So what that means in practice is if the child's father is stateless himself, or he is unknown, or he's abandoned the family, or for some reason he can't pass on his own nationality, the child will end up without any nationality at all. So it's an incredibly easy problem to solve. For many countries, it is an oversight. It's something archaic that has been inherited into the nationality laws. But so many countries have reformed their laws, even in the last 30 years, say, across Europe, Asia, Middle East, Africa. And all that it takes is if you have a nationality law, say in Lebanon, it currently reads the child of a Lebanese father is Lebanese. All we need to add is the words or mother. So the child of a Lebanese father or mother is Lebanese. And that particular problem is resolved.
OK, so that would be relatively easy to fix. What are some of the other risks to stateless people face? Human trafficking, for example, how does that come into this?
That's a very good question. It's an area where research is being done to explore this in greater detail. One of the challenges that I think that we face with statelessness is how to activate people to take an interest in the issue and to take it seriously. And a big part of that is showing what the impact of statelessness is through research. One of our own projects at Tilburg University has been to explore this interaction between statelessness and human trafficking. And from our pilot study in Thailand, we did see, for instance, that a stateless person is much less likely than a citizen, even if it's someone from the same community who has grown up in the same circumstances, much less likely to get an education. The household income is much lower. They are more likely to migrate to look for work, less likely to go to the police if there are problems that they encounter. So these are some of the known root causes of human trafficking. And this is a way to start to explore, I suppose, the broader impact of statelessness on individuals, but also on society. What toll does statelessness take on society?
Volker, this figure of 10 million stateless people that we're bandying around here, how do we know how many people are actually stateless? The very fact that they've fallen between the cracks and aren't included in any national census must make it pretty hard to get accurate figures, surely.
No, that's actually one of the big problems that we have. And we have, over the last couple of years, made some major improvements working with states and especially with national census institutes to improve the establishment of data on capturing stateless populations. Just to say, a decade ago, we only had data for about 30 countries. Today, we have more precise data for 75 countries. So as we move ahead with this campaign, and this is a very important one, the data will also improve and we will be able to capture much better both the reasons, the causes, but also the way to find solutions to the issue of statelessness.
Laura, do you share Volker's optimism that statelessness can be ended within the next decade?
I believe that we can get a very long way. I think to give one concrete example, and perhaps also to disagree slightly with Mohammed about this lying solely on the shoulders of the UN, I think what I'm starting to see through my work and my interaction with different actors is that there's now a collective interest in the issue. And I think that that's what's actually needed to take it forward. Sure, we need the UN to be championing the issue, and a campaign like this can help to galvanize that. But we need civil society to work together. We need academics to do the research that's needed. We need governments to have to listen, because the everyday person who is perhaps watching the show knows more about the issue. So I think that definitely things can be done. And to give one very concrete example, working on statelessness within Europe a few years ago, you probably would have found it very difficult to find someone else to share ideas and experiences with. And now there is actually a European civil society network on statelessness with more than 50 organizations across more than 30 countries. And it's a means for sharing information, sharing success strategies, and actually forming a single voice together. And I think that that type of work and joint campaigning will make all the difference.
Volker, we've been talking a lot about statelessness, historical statelessness, if you like, things that have gone on for 60, 70 years or so. We of course live in a time, once again, of armed conflict. There are many trouble spots around the world. In what ways can war exacerbate the plight of the stateless, and who or what should be helping? What can be done to help people caught up in armed conflict who find themselves stateless?
Well, you see, one of the big problems, of course, in the context of people fleeing war and conflict is that they lose very often their documents. They flee across borders, they don't have the necessary documentation, and especially newborn children in a foreign country, in their host countries where they flee to, may not necessarily get birth certificates. So one of the very important concrete measures is to ensure that all children born on the territory, irrespective of the nationality, be they foreign, be they not foreign, must receive a birth certificate, because a birth certificate is an extremely important document to have to prove your legal identity, to prove that you actually belong to one state, that you have parents, and as a result can have access other documents that are extremely necessary in today's world.
Okay, Laura.
So that's one very concrete way to move ahead.
Okay, Laura, I need a brief answer from you, if I can, because we're running out of time. To what extent does statelessness fuel or even prolong armed conflict?
It's another slightly tricky question to answer because there's so little research in this area. But it's very clear, I think, that if you cast a whole community within your country as outsiders, you're helping to fuel animosity. You have the in-group who feel like these people are outsiders and they don't belong. So the first sign of tension or perhaps economic problems, you've got a scapegoat that is so readily used. And then you have people who are deprived of all sorts of rights, of opportunities. They can't vote, they can't work, they can't reach their potential. And they'll eventually also get frustrated, especially if they've seen that their father and their grandfather and their great-grandfather have been treated in the same way. And that's just a breeding ground for tension.
All right, let's give the final word on today's Inside Story to Mohammed Al-Anesi, former stateless person. Mohammed, what message would you have then to the delegates meeting at this conference on statelessness in the Hague?
Really, I supposed to be in this conference, and I did booked even the flight to Holland, but unfortunately because of health problem I couldn't go there. But it's good to give the message from here. But before that, you were speaking about the numbers. The numbers now is 10 million. After 10 years, how many there will be people? They are increasing. And there are another point, like Kuwait. They obligate the people to take false passport from other countries. Okay. So they change the numbers and make them rather than stateless.
I'm sorry to rush you, but we are out of time on the program. Your message to the delegates in The Hague, very briefly.
My message is the United Nations and mechanism. These countries, they need to listen to the stateless themselves, not just the government, and take solutions. We can help in solution. These governments need to be obligated by law. The law of 1954 need to be changed and be stronger, and the United Nations to have obligation for these countries, and don't leave the files in the hands of the authorities and the government.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed to all of you. Volker Turk in Geneva, Mohammed Al-Anesi in London, and Laura van Vaz in The Hague. And thank you for watching. Don't forget, you can add your thoughts to our discussion by leaving your comments at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. We're also on Twitter. Tweet us at AJ Inside Story. In Doha, I'm Adrian Finnegan. I'll see you again from me and all the team. Bye for now.